welcome to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide from me, Kieran Harrison. This time I'm in the Porsche Cayman GT4 and we're at Road America for week 10 of the GT4 challenge in iRacing. So without further ado, let's get into it. So that was the fast lap around Road America in the GT4. I'm now going to take a more leisurely pace around so I have time to point out all the braking points and driving lines and things to look out for. So let's get into that. I'm just starting here just after the final corner because we've got a long front straight to get into. I think there's 3 long straights on this track, so it's kind of important to have good straight line speed in the setup if you're doing an open setup race. But yeah, so on the way down to turn 1, I'm looking for the cones on the left-hand side. Not the first set. I think it's the second set of cones there. I think there's 3 cones. Braking just marginally before that. I'm going down to 4th, and then briefly down to 3rd just to help the car rotate, and then back to 4th again for the exit. But I found it's actually quicker to not take all the curb because I think there's a bump in the curb. So if you just take a little nibble of the curb on the inside, you can actually carry more corner speed. But then on the exit, you do want to use all of the exit curb available. Just be careful to get back on the track again before the off track, where the curb kind of narrows down. So heading into turn 2, there's these brake marker boards on the left, as you can see, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I'm braking about halfway between the 2 and the 1 board, just down from 5th to 3rd gear for this one, because you could go for 2nd, but I think 3rd just gives you better traction on the exit. You want to get down nice and early to the curb because it's kind of cambered on the inside, which helps you get to rotate around the corner. Then it also allows you to get on the power nice and early, and again you want to use all the curb available. But it's a similar story to turn 1 where you've just got to make sure you get back on quickly before the curb really narrows down, otherwise you're going off track. This is the second big straight of the track, and it's quite straight, so you just want to trim it down, take as short a line as possible, just to reduce the time a little tiny bit. And then for the following corner, we're looking for the marker boards on the right hand side again. Looking for the number 2, which are just coming into view now. I'm braking maybe 20 meters just before the 2. It's also, if it's easier to look for, it's where the sand ends is exactly in line with the two. So I'm braking about here, down from 6th to 3rd. Again, you could use 2nd, but I just find you get better traction on the exit in 3rd. You can also use a little bit with this tarmac to the right-hand side of the curb here, but not too much because it's a bit bumpy out there and less grippy. But just to widen the corner, use a little bit. Make sure you get the curb. Don't dip underneath it because there's a big dip and it really unsettles the car. And then use all the exit curb. You can even use a bit of this black stuff out here as long as you get back on quick, as with the other corners, to avoid the off track. Now heading up the hill here, this is probably the most difficult corner on the course for me, because you've got to, just before the crest of the hill, you just want to really gently brake. You don't need a downshift, you'll already be in 3rd. You just got to gently brake, otherwise it'll just understeer as soon as you go over the crest. But yeah, just nice and gentle trail braking into the apex, and then try and the throttle and use all of the curb on the exit again, because there's no track limits apart from the grass, just to widen the corner as much as you can. This right-hander here, I'm doing like a half lift, like not even a full lift, from like maybe to 50% throttle, just over the apex. Otherwise you just understeer a little too much, but you can get away with about a quick half lift, and then just use all the track, maximizing as you can. Looking here, looking for the brake marker boards on the right hand side again. So again, I'm braking just before the 2. Maybe in a GT3 you'd be braking at the 2, but in this car you've got to brake a little earlier. Just down from 5th to 3rd, and try to really slow it down before the apex so you can get on the power early, because it really allows you to get a good exit. Especially if you take this inside curve, it's again like cambered inwards, positive camber to help you through the corner. It allows you to get on the power really well. You get good traction through this corner as well. Carry big speed into this fast ride. This one's kind of, you can take multiple lines. The line that I was preferring was come in quite wide, and then just as I'm getting back to the inside, like a full lift and then a tiny 10% little bit of brake, it just drifts the car out to the middle and then rotates it. And then as soon as you're pointing back towards the inside again, I'm getting flat on the throttle. From there, it allows you to just carry the speed full throttle through the rest of the corner. Then you get a good exit onto this back straight here. Again, use all the curb on the outside. It's there to be used. This fast kink here, unlike in a GT3, it's not flat out in this car. It's similar to the last corner actually, in that I'm lifting off, but also like a tiny little dab of brake, maybe 10-20%, just to control the speed through the corner. But you don't really need to lift for that long, and then you can get back to full throttle. Feel free to use all of the curb on the exit. You can even sort of dip a wheel off when it narrows down before you get an off track. Kind of get away with that, so just experiment with the track limits there, see what you can get away with. Just because you want to carry as much speed as possible, because then there's a bit of a straight afterwards. And then coming into this one, I believe it's Canada corner. It's the only corner name on the track I know. Again, looking for the brake marker boards on the left. I'm braking maybe just before the halfway point between 4 and 3, so closer to the 4 than the 3. It's down 3 gears, down to 3rd gear. Again, it just helps so much with the traction in this car to use a higher gear in the corners. You want to get this one stopped nice and early, because this corner is a bit deceptive. It's much tighter on the exit than it looks on the entry. And I feel like the track surface loosens up a bit, especially when you get out to the curb on the exit. So you just want to get it nice and slowed down so you can get hard on the power to really fire off the corner. Again, you can use all this black curb, but it doesn't really lend itself to that, because it tightens down again too quickly. So you kind of want to use most of it, but if you run all the way out to the outside, you'll end up getting an off track before you can get back on. Then the second to last corner on the track here, it's left-hander. It's probably flat if you really nail it, but it doesn't really cost you much time to do a tiny lift to about 80% through it, and that just makes it safer to open wide and get an off track here, especially if you need to protect them late in the race or something going qualifying. But yeah, it's pretty easy, flat out and forth, just a tiny lift. The final corner, we're looking for exactly where this tarmac changes colour. It goes to a darker shade. I'm braking just as I cross that line, just down 1 gear from 4th to 3rd. And the turn-in point really is where this curb starts. So you're braking up until this curb, and then you start to turn in. And then you've got to be careful when you get on the power, because this is, again, a bit tighter than it looks. But there is lots of exit curbs, so you can use that on the exit to help carry the speed through the corner. But yeah, you just want to be getting flat out as early as possible to carry the speed onto the big front straight. I think it's probably the longest straight on the track. Yeah, it's all important to carry the speed. It seems to be the general theme of the track, just to make sure you maximize the exits onto the straights because they are numerous. But yeah, that completes the lap in the Porsche GT4. So there we have it. That was the lap guide for the Porsche GT4 at Road America. I hope you find it useful as we head into week 10 of the GT4 challenge. The key with this car really is, as I was mentioning, especially with this track with the 3 long straights, you really want to try and maximize the exits just to carry as much speed onto the straights as possible. That's why I was tending to use third gear when I could be using second. Seems to, although it hurts the rotation a little bit initially on turn in, it really helps with the traction on the exit. You can fire out onto the straights. The other thing to note is the ABS. If you're really hitting the ABS in this car, and you can see that from the yellow lights, as I mentioned in the last lap guide on the dash, they pop on when you hit the ABS. It really hurts the braking ability of the car, so you've got to try and avoid that as much as you can. But yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the lap guide. That's it from me, so see you in the next one.